And welcome back to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're going to talk about jobless claims in the state of Pennsylvania real quick. We're one of the few in the nation that actually had a rise this past week. We're also going to talk about delaying motherhood. There's this idea, this concept across the country. Women are being forced to pick profession or pregnancy. So who better to talk about that than Mark and I? And then we're going to have a little bit of fun at the end, talk about Charles Barkley. He's talking about stepping down, walking away. And then we're going to talk about the local Philadelphia 76ers here in the state of Pennsylvania. Before any of that stuff, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Better. No contact issues today. Went with a new one. Right. Took the old one out. And, there's that feeling of ripping the new one out of the – I say ripping. You don't want to rip your contact. But when you peel it back and you take the new one out, you don't even have to rinse it off because it's perfectly clean. And there is something about that first time you put a new contact in. It is a delightful experience. But, yes, I cannot wait till the fourth segment when we cover the fact that the Philadelphia 76ers blew a 112-point fourth-quarter lead, which is a record in the NBA.
It felt like it.
I don't really have the stats in front of me. I think it was 112.
I felt like it. I used to have the the monthly contacts. I think you're supposed to. I leave them in for 2 months.
I never did that.
Okay. I switched it to now where I think it's every 2 weeks I'm supposed to change them, and there is no better day than changing.
You wear your contacts for 2 straight weeks.
Well, I take them out at night. If that's what you're saying. No, I take them out at night. But before, I think I was only supposed to replace them every 2 months. And I told the doc, I was like, I can't do this. They just don't last 2 months. So I got to switch to 2 weeks. But part of the reason is also too, like you're saying, if I could have a new pair every day, I would do it.
Yeah, I think if I was filthy rich, that is one thing I would do. I would have new contacts every day.
Yeah.
But
so I switched.
I'm not, so I don't.
No. Speaking of filthy rich, I don't know if that's a great transition or not. Jobless claims. This is really interesting because you and I, we don't know 100% what's going on.
We don't know what we're talking about with this segment, but we're going to give it a shot.
But we're going to give it a shot because there is something kind of, it's not suspicious, but there is something very clearly not right going on.
2 states are going in the wrong direction, and we're one of them.
Yes. According to MSNBC, jobless claims showed a surprise increase this month across the United States, but it was really only because of 2 states, and those 2 states happened to be California, and number 1 was Pennsylvania.
We're number 1.
Number 1 in jobless claims that rose this month. The state of Pennsylvania, it rose about over 20,000. It's 21,590. State of California was 15,712. So we are 25% above our next closest competitor for jobless claims. Here's where it kind of gets funky, and we can go into the whole California and PA and what does that mean that we're at the top of this list with California. Where it gets even funkier is 6 days before, the state of Pennsylvania came out and said that unemployment benefit claims had gone down. And then 6 days later, our jobless claims for the month are up 20,000, number 1 in the country. And those two are kind of like a juxtaposition. Did I use that word correctly?
I think you did.
They just kind of butt heads. It doesn't make a ton of sense.
Well,
so go ahead.
I was going to say the part that makes no sense is you can't turn on the radio. You can't walk down the street and see people that aren't looking for employees.
Yeah.
So the jobless claim, there has to be some sort of as I said to you, maybe it's people that have collected a bunch of money. They've collected their stimulus money. And they're just summer's here. Things are open. I quit. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to the mountains. I'm going to go to Canada and fish, whatever they're going to do. And then they're going to come back and they're going to start a new job and get a sign-on bonus and all these things that all these companies are offering. So that's my only logical explanation. Other than that, I can't see how jobless claims would go up in Pennsylvania at all.
No, I agree with what you're saying is correct. It is that time of year where people will kind of call it quits if they feel like they're secure enough, and they'll go enjoy their summer and they'll come back to the workforce in the fall. This is the other part of it, and digging into this. We started a new system in the state of Pennsylvania as well for unemployment compensation. It started this past week. The state is saying that it worked well. People that were applying for their unemployment compensation are saying that there was more of a struggle than what the state is leading on to. And that's being reported in Pittsburgh. It's being reported in Philadelphia, different places across the state. So there is also this idea of maybe the unemployment benefits never were actually lower. Maybe people that were trying to get their unemployment compensation couldn't actually get into the system because they weren't able to apply for it. They weren't able to use the new platform. And then on top of it, they were having trouble getting a hold of somebody who could help them that works for the state. So there's this whole thing where either, in my opinion, either unemployment benefits claims never dropped. There was just as many people trying to claim them as there were a week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before. And we just didn't see that because they couldn't get onto this platform for the first time this week. Or something is seriously, there's a disconnect between how people attach unemployment to jobless claims. Because to apply for unemployment benefits, you would think there has to be some sort of correlation to jobless claims, but this would state otherwise.
Well, you have to get laid off or be fired to collect unemployment, and I guess.
And maybe right now, people aren't being laid off or fired. They just
quit.
They just quit or don't have a job. Period.
Because they know they can come back. I don't know. It's interesting. You never want to be, as a proud Pennsylvanians, we never want to be in like tops on a bad list, and in this case, we're tops on a bad list.
Yes.
And everyone else is on, it seems like everyone else is on the good side of the list, because as things are opening up and businesses picking up again, jobs are filling, and then we have this. So
yes. And I don't have the exact numbers, but the way that this article makes it out to be, it sounds as if we are the major like when they say the nation jobless claims are up, really we are the main supplier of that reason.
We're it.
We are the reason. And California's like the little brother we're kind of dragging along with us, but it is Pennsylvania. We are the reason that the nation's jobless claims are up.
Oh, well, we'll try to figure out more, but that's just kind of
it was an interesting
nuance.
topic.
It is. It's interesting. This is interesting too.
Yeah, profession or pregnancy. Basically, the New York Times put out a story about how delaying motherhood, and they did an interview. They interviewed dozens of women across the country, and basically we're trying to ask them, what was your reasoning? Why haven't you had kids yet? Because most of them have said, like, we want to have a family, we want to have kids. And that was kind of the, I don't want to say clientele, but that was the person that they were looking for. They wanted to find women in their 20s who wanted to have a family or wanted to have a kid, but had not done it yet. And the overwhelming majority of them, they all gave varying reasons. But one of the overwhelming ones was the idea of having a profession settled before actually going into pregnancy. And as we looked at some of the reasons and what was going on in the article, I thought it was a fascinating topic with you because I don't know I don't think it's negative. I just wonder what that looks like for the household, for the future. How old was your mom when she had you? Do you remember?
She's born in 1943, 28.
28. I think my mom was late 20s. She would have been 28 or 29. But there's a lot of people who, like, when they're first child, like they're 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I just wonder what that looks like in society moving forward. When your first child, you are, I don't want to say you're more mature, but you certainly have your life more put together. You have a better understanding of the world. I think so.
Do we?
I think you have a better understanding of the world when you're 30 versus when you're 20.
Well, the article basically came down to more women are college educated than before. I think your stat was like 10 years ago, it was like 25%. Now it's 33%.
Yes.
And this is more prevalent in the more affluent areas where women are, they need more jobs. The area needs more jobs. So more women are hired. And more women are hired to better positions. Not only are women better educated than they've ever been, right, they're also being offered better positions in the workforce than they've ever been. And you're finding these women that are then putting off having a family as they establish their career. So it will be interesting to see down the road, as the discrepancy changes of the lesser educated having kids at what ages and the educated having kids at what ages. Does this mean the more educated people have way fewer kids because they start later? Do they only have one or two as a pair, as opposed to the others who have maybe, larger families? But I also thought one of the things you were going to say is why women are having children later and later is because they're saying all the young single guys out there are morons and they just have less to choose from.
That wouldn't shock me. I'm sure if the New York Times would have asked that question, there's a chance that could have been the answer. The other stat was 44% of female workers across the country are now in professional or management occupations. Whereas before, obviously, that was significantly lower, even lower than like the 33 to 25% difference for highly educated.
Right.
That gap is even larger for that one. I just, like you and I have talked about before, I'm kind of fascinated by the longevity of life and how that's shifted our culture and how it's changed things, because this whole system was designed for people to live to be 50, 55, 60, and then kind of, you tap out when you're 65 and you move on. And as the longevity of life continues, you have people working into their 60s, working into their 70s, and you have a crop of people underneath who are ready to move up and they can't yet. I just wonder, like, the longevity of life, what that looks like when people stop having kids in their 20s and they start having them in their 30s instead, because it's going to shift things. Even something as simple as who's spending the money on the kids, right? Like when you're younger and you're in your 20s, are you spending as much on your children? Probably not, because you don't have the money to spend on them. Whereas if I'm a successful, 44% of these people are in management positions. So if I'm a successful woman who just had a child and now I'm 30, 31, I'm going to spend a lot more on my kid than I would have when I was 21. It's just math. So I do think like there's going to be shifts in the economy. There's going to be shifts in the workforce. This affects a lot more. It affects a lot more than just simply saying like, yeah, people are just going to have kids later in life.
Well, I wonder too what it does to, because obviously because of this outlook now that more and more girls when they're growing up are encouraged, like you can pretty much be whatever you want to be, as opposed to how it used to be where they could be teachers and nurses and secretaries and things were very limited. So it's going to be interesting then to see. There was also that era where you were supposed to, the girls were supposed to grow up and be mothers and have kids, and they weren't really supposed to be professionals. And is it going to create more of a culture? And you've seen people, depending on how old you are and who you ask, that there are people who will tell you they were never sure they really wanted to have kids. They weren't sure their parents even wanted to have kids. That like if it was more socially acceptable to not have kids, then more people would have done it. And it will be curious to see as time moves on, as the generations move on, when you get young girls who are like, I want to have this career because now I have this opportunity of this career, and I have as much of an opportunity of this career as my brother does. So having kids isn't all that important to me because it's not all I was supposed to do, because for generations, women were just supposed to grow up and have kids.
The fascinating point that you made there, I would love to see a chart of every year, how much less likely are you to have a kid? So the longer that this is delayed and the longer you wait, what percentage goes down your likelihood of having one? And I think that shift in population, that shift in the economy and the workforce, like that's a real thing.
And I wonder too how many, not to delve back into psychology, but how many women who are, how many, not just women, but men, I guess too. Well, there was a movie with Jason Bateman in, and the girl I can see, and they're talking about adopting, and it was Juno.
Okay.
You've seen Juno, right? Okay. And how many people change their mind throughout life? Like, I want to have a kid, maybe I don't want to have a kid, maybe I do want to have a kid. And how many people, how many career-oriented women like get to like 35 and are like, "Ooh, I need to have one now," because I wanted to get established. I wanted to get established. Now I'm established, and now I'm like, priorities in life have changed. So because as you know about life, the only thing that stays the same is that it's always changing. So that would be interesting. But it is in affluent areas. You're finding that educated women are having kids later and later, which, I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense. But what it does to the future generations is going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. Thank you, Weis Markets. Be sure to go there for all your grocery needs. How many times have you been there today?
I was there once
already, and it's only 12:30. So
I was there very early. I was there before. It was my second stop today. I was there 8:30, maybe.
Yeah, so it's only 12:30, so you'll probably go at least 2 more times today. Be sure to go there for all your grocery markets. Thank you to Weis Markets for being our title sponsor. Also, we have Moon and Raven, we have Eat and Run Catering, and we have the Break Room as well. Be sure to join the Midday Show Facebook group. We just topped 700 followers. Thank you guys for following along. Be sure to join the group. You're automatically entered for a chance to win. And anything else? Did I forget something?
It is interesting now that you mention that. We have so many more viewers than we have followers.
Yeah.
Like, why don't the people just follow? Do they not want to win? Or if their name gets spit out, I spin a winner every day. Even though it should be every third day, I spin one every day.
You've been on fire. No doubt about it. Let's do this. We're going to spin our winner today, Trevor Middlestitch. No?
You made that up.
No, Trevor Middlestitch.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were playing off your cousin who made fun of you for having fake names.
No, Trevor Middlestitch. Don't make Trevor feel bad. You ready?
Middlestitch is the last name?
Yes.
I've never heard that name before.
Yes, Trevor Middlestitch.
I can't tell if you're serious or not.
I'm waiting. Trevor's waiting for you to spin the wheel.
I'm just saying. I have never heard anyone named Middlestitch.
Yeah.
You have before today?
Yes. Well, no, not before today, but now.
Well, I've heard it now too because you said it, but it doesn't make it. I'm just saying.
Here we go. Big spin for Trevor. Wait, real quick. Are you 3 in a row?
I'm 3 in a row. I'm
Jeez,
three. I am the Phoenix Suns of the wheel spin.
You are the Phoenix Suns of the wheel spin. Here we go.
Do you know the Baltimore Orioles have lost 18 straight road games?
Suns in 4. I thought that was coming off the shelf.
I
couldn't.
I gave the negative vibes of the Orioles losing 18 in a row. Do you know how hard it is to lose 18 straight baseball games? Like, baseball's a very, you get a hot pitcher, I'll give you another one. Dude for the Phillies his name's escaping me, had been 0 for his last 33. Do you know how hard it is for a big league hitter to go 0 for 33? And then his first at bat off Clayton Kershaw, who's a Hall of Famer. He hit a home run.
He was clearly due.
He was due.
Clearly due.
He was either due or out of a job, like one of the two.
Charles Barkley, who I don't know about your opinion. I love Charles Barkley.
Everyone loves Charles Barkley.
So Charles Barkley basically came out. He said he's going to quit his job with TNT.
Wait. He came out?
Yeah.
Oh.
He came out and said he's going to quit his job.
That's like that. If someone comes out,
I don't understand.
If someone comes out, it means they announced their homosexuality. That's the say. When you say Charles Barkley came out, that's what it would mean.
That's the only thing that term means. Like no, you can't come out of anything else.
You have to follow up.
I can't come out of a coma. Like I can't.
You have to keep the sentence going.
I did. I said Charles.
There was a gap.
I said Charles
Barkley came out.
He is
and then
quitting.
You paused.
He is quitting inside. It's called a cadence. Like I'm not just like.
And I'm telling you, when you give a cadence that way, you gave the impression that Charles was announcing his lifestyle.
I mean, it's not verbal diarrhea. Like, I'm not just going to keep rambling.
It matters. It matters.
Charles Barkley came out.
Like, I'll give you an example. Then we'll get back to Charles. You can say the phrase on the radio, on TV. You can say the phrase tit for tat because that is a cliche. But if you throw in a cadence in there too much, all of a sudden you have problems.
What, tit for tat?
Yes.
What was wrong with that?
Nothing. Just a little bit of a gap can cause problems.
Okay. There was no problem with saying, like, here's the
Rewind
funny part.
And watch again.
Here's the funny part. This is exactly what we're going to talk about. Because you can come out of a lot of things. I can come out of a drunk stupor.
Yes, you can. As long as you come out of a drunk stupor.
I can come out of a nap. I can do a lot of things.
I agree with that. I agree with all of those things.
Okay. So anyway, Charles Barkley is quitting inside the NBA at 60, which will be in about a year. And you won't believe this. He is blaming cancel culture. He's blaming people who are a little judgmental about how you say things. And his
so it's
quote
my fault now.
His direct quote was, "You can't have fun nowadays," which I think is very poignant now after the points you just made. So go ahead, continue.
Well, we have talked about before. I wonder what. Well, okay. We had talked before that Charles is kind of the one guy on network TV who kind of says whatever he wants. And he's so lovable because of it. And he doesn't do it out of mean spirit. He does it out of honesty. But he'll do, like during the NCAA tournament, he'll just be like, they're terrible. Like if they don't get a rebound, they're going to lose by 50.
Yeah.
Like he will just be blunt, and they have stunk the whole first half. So he must be getting there must be somebody behind the scenes saying, Chuck, you can't really say that. We've got to a world where, as we prefaced this when we were talking beforehand about on TV, obviously you get these YouTube guys and internet sensations that can say whatever they want because there's no holds barred. But it is, there's nobody like him left. No. And the fact that the NBA is not the fact that pregame show and halftime show has become what it is when the NBA is not a great spectator sport until the playoffs. But him and Kenny and Ernie Johnson. They are great, and they have become must-see TV for a lot of sports fans, even if you don't really love the NBA.
Oh yeah. So I want to read this real quick. It'll take about 30 seconds, but this was his actual quote when he was talking to the radio station in Washington. He said, "If you crack a joke the wrong way, they're like, oh, no, you crossed the line. I mean, they won't even let me talk about San Antonio anymore when I'm always talking about their big old women down in San Antonio. They're like, Charles, we got one lady who wrote an article. I'm like, first of all, I didn't call anybody personally fat in San Antonio. I was just joking around. We've been having fun with this for probably 10 to 15 years. We go to San Antonio. The people have a blast with it. The people in San Antonio even have T-shirts made up. You can't even have fun nowadays without these characters trying to get you canceled and things like that. I'm trying to hang on for another couple of years until I'm 60, and then they can kiss my ass."
I think he brings up a very good point too. A lot of times we find people who are protecting, who think they're protecting those people that are offended, and the people that they assume are offended are like, no, we get the joke.
Yes.
It would be like, people like, Mark, you can't make fun of Blossburg because Jeff's from Blossburg. And I was like, well, that's the joke. And he's in on it, and he's good. And he makes fun of Montoursville, and it's part of, it's the shtick.
Right.
So there are lots of places, and I can think of one that is a story I can't really tell because it became a real situation. But it involved coaches and a comment that a coach made to an athlete, and the people around the athlete were like, whoa, he can't say that.
Right.
And the athlete and her parents came in and were like, no, we weren't offended. We weren't bothered. I get it. It was not. And so a lot of times that does happen, that I'm sure the people in San Antonio do laugh about it.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I will be upset when he leaves, and he's going to have to at some point. He's almost 60. Even if there wasn't, he would be.
Dick Vitale's 100.
That's true. I just think there's very few people left who can say what they want, but also as crazy as Charles Barkley can be, you can tell he seems to understand there's a responsibility to being able to say whatever you want. He says some pretty funny stuff, and he'll say some stuff that's off the rails, but very rarely does he say stuff that's just completely demeaning, or it's something that is just totally wrong. There's very few people who walk that line, because most people who can say whatever they want usually take it a step too far, or they're pushing their agenda, or all of this stuff. And Barkley kind of grasps he has a control over it. There's a sense of I know that I wield this power. I can say what I want to say, but I'm not just going to do it every day, or I'm not just going to be an asshole because I can do it. Am I allowed to say that on the air?
I don't know. I think one of the things, what makes Charles so lovable is you can tell he doesn't take himself too serious.
No.
But the thing that works for him is he comes across as like the, I don't know. He allows himself to be the butt of the joke.
Yes.
And then, but when he's doing his analysis and stuff, like he knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
When he watched the first half,
right,
and he makes very lucid points. And there's every now and then that we're like, oh, Charles is funny. Charles is the butt of the joke. But Charles is very intelligent too.
Sure.
And that's why we watch. And yeah, it is. It is fascinating how often that you tell a joke. And well, I'll tell you this one. I'll give you this one too. We were doing a broadcast. Jamie Spencer and I were doing a broadcast for Web Weekly, and I've been on the radio a bunch and it was a Montoursville football game. And Montoursville's band has 100 members in it. And I've said this. I've made this comment 24 times in my broadcast career. Like in the middle of the halftime band show, which is always good, there's a dance number. And the kid, for 15, 20 seconds, no instruments, they just dance. And I said on our broadcast last year, there is nothing more fun than watching 100 white kids try to dance at the same time. And our cameraman was black. And he looked over at us like, I can't believe you just said that. And Jamie looks at him and goes, no. He's like, we're fine. We can say that. And it's a joke. And everybody's in on it because all the white people are in on it because we know we can't dance. So but like, if you come down and say, well, who are you? Like, you can't say that because it's offensive. It's offensive to who? And that's the question that comes out. So when Charles Barkley's saying we make fun of the big women in San Antonio, but we go to San Antonio, they love it. They have T-shirts, they have this. Who is it offending? And that's where it becomes sad.
Yeah, I think going along with your point, there are a few people who have the command of that voice or that ability to say whatever they want. And Barkley's one of the only ones I've ever seen. Like, it's one thing to have the power or have the stage or have been crazy enough that now people just accept, like, you're just going to say crazy things. But Barkley does it different because there's a command and an understanding. There's an intelligence there that he understands, like, it can't go this far off of the rails. Like, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be like forward, but I'm not going to get to the point where, like, I can just say it because I want to say it. So I'm just going to do it. He has a command over
right. And he's not mean-spirited. The other thing that people need to realize is when you're trying to be hurtful and insulting, it's one thing. But when you're making jokes, you only make fun of people that you like. And like, that's why, like, I make fun of Blossberg. I don't go up to people that I don't know and tell them where. And you make fun of me because I didn't put my microphone on yesterday.
Sure.
But it's like you make fun of your friends, and that's what happens. So Charles isn't making fun of San Antonio because he doesn't like San Antonio. He's making fun of San Antonio because they get it and they can give it back. Yeah. And that's it's one of the aspects of people who are funny, and people who are at least try to be funny. And there's a lot of times when you say jokes in a room and there's a group that looks at you that's like, I can't believe I said that. And then people that look at themselves and say, I want to laugh, but I don't know if I'm allowed to laugh out loud because it's really funny, but how does that make me look if it's funny? And then the other people that just laugh along because it is funny. And who are the happiest people in the room? The people that just laugh along.
Yeah.
No, so
I'm with you. Before we go, NBA playoffs. The 76ers are down 3-2.
They had a 184-point lead in the fourth quarter and blew it.
They were up 25 with about 14 minutes to play and lost.
They got outscored 40-19 in the fourth quarter. When you are this close to the NBA Finals and you give up 40 in a quarter, that's bad. That's really bad.
They're just not, and this sounds so weird because they're phenomenal basketball players. So I'm not trying to say something that's like controversial. They're just not natural basketball players.
40.
And what I mean by that is Like, Joel Embiid didn't play basketball until he was 18.
Well, he had like 28 at half.
I know he did because he's 7'1" and he's a phenomenal athlete.
He's a little athletic.
Correct. But you can see, like, at the end of the game when it gets tightened up and like it really matters, there's not a lot of natural flow. Like, there's no natural rhythm to it.
Is there any natural defense?
Yeah, I think so. But 40 points, I mean, I don't know. But same thing with Ben Simmons, who is their other all-star. If you watch Ben Simmons, like, I don't think he shoots with the right hand.
Is he with a Kardashian?
I don't know.
Or is he with one of the Jenner girls?
I don't know.
I thought he was dating. I think he did.
I don't know. Anyway, keep talking about the Sixers.
No, I was why you just had me. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Maybe he is or not.
I don't know why this doesn't say NBA and NHL playoffs is what bothers me.
Go ahead, talk about the NHL playoffs.
Montreal won 3-2. They tied it at 1-1. They're both tied at 1-1, and isn't that great?
Did you enjoy it?
I did. How about this? Let me throw this out.
Go ahead.
Tampa won last year, the COVID year. Tampa had an unbelievable, I don't know if people realize this. The Rays made the World Series and lost.
Correct.
The Lightning won the Cup.
Correct.
And the Bucks won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Tampa has become title town America.
Yeah.
Since the last time when the Toronto Maple Leafs last won the Cup in 1967, if you would have told those people, you're not going to win the Cup again for 55 years, but Tampa is going to win it twice, and they're the favorites to do it again. Like, that just doesn't seem. The hockey finals, according to Vegas and the odds and the experts, are supposed to be Tampa versus Vegas. Like, why don't we just play on the equator? Like, this is not how God intended it.
No, it isn't. But one thing about, like, it's warm weather, it's Florida. Like, they're always going to have a chance to turn it around regardless of what sport it is. There are certain cities that just, like, it doesn't mean they won't be bad, but, like, they're always going to have a much easier time figuring it out or turning it around than other cities. Miami, Tampa, the LAs. I'd even argue Arizona. Most Arizona teams aren't bad very long. Like, they typically turn it around fairly quickly.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, in baseball, we've seen that the southern teams have it tough because guys don't want to go bake in the sun all summer.
Sure.
But basketball and hockey, we're seeing that these guys say, do I want to spend my winter in Winnipeg or do I want to spend my winter in Tampa?
Right.
Tampa's all right.
Yeah.
Vegas is all right.
Yeah.
I spend my whole life in Vegas. Like,
right.
Vegas is all right. Could you imagine living in Vegas?
No, but but it goes back, like, I just don't think Vegas will ever, like, there will never be a stretch where a Vegas team is bad for 5+ years. Because they're always going to be able to get back to average and mediocre. Because
the Raiders might try, but you would think
so. Because I just think that idea of, like, oh, I'll go live in Vegas for a year.
I agree with
like,
you.
So for that reason, I just think they're always going to have opportunities.
I got to tell you, they were telling stories the other night during a hockey game, and I can't think of his name. He said they were talking about the one dude. His wife went into labor during the playoff game.
Okay.
But the game ended, and he got to the hospital in time for the birth of it was their second kid, and whatever. So they're telling stories. The dude is in the delivery room, and his wife is, like, close to labor, but not, like, in the throes of labor.
Okay.
He gets a phone call. This is 30 years ago. They call him at the hospital. They're like, sir, you have a call. He goes out and takes it. He got traded while his wife is in the delivery room. He comes back in, and she suspects it. And she's like, what just happened? And he's like, I don't want to tell her. I don't want to. And he's like, she's like, where are we going? And he said, Winnipeg. And if you ever look in Canada on the map, they call it Winterpeg because it is up. Yeah. It is like it is cold. Yeah. So he's like, and an hour later, my kid's born. So it's like, I'm the only person in the history of sports that ever got traded in the delivery room. But that is the story. And he's, my wife's laying on the table saying, where are we going?
Yeah. That's a tough one, too, because if you're the team, you don't want to wait. Because the only worst case scenario is him finding out from somebody else.
That some reporter calls him and said, what do you think?
Yes. So if you're a team, you're kind of pigeonholed. Like, you don't have much of a choice there.
Right.
I guess you could not trade him, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right. That's a tough one.
It is.
What else?
That's it. That's all I got.
That's it? That's all you got?
Um,
My son's Hawks bet is looking unbelievable right now.
Yeah, not bad. You said the Hawks were really good. You didn't say the Hawks were really good. You said the Hawks are a lot better than everyone thinks. You said the Suns were good and the Suns could have a trip. I'm pumped to see the Islanders go at it again tonight. I would love the Islanders and the Canadians in the final. Nobody else thinks it's going to happen. Vegas certainly doesn't think it's going to happen. But and is anyone else playing anymore in basketball? Oh,
Utah and Clippers last night. The Clippers won without Kawhi, which he's out with an ACL. LeBron made a comment, I don't know if you saw, about injuries in the NBA, how he tried to tell the NBA that this was going to happen. So basically LeBron's blaming the schedule for all these guys getting hurt. So that's, typical.
Typical what? Are you taking shots at LeBron?
Typical. No, just
don't take shots at LeBron.
Just typical.
Whatever.
Chris Paul's out, health and
we should have talked about that. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Protocol.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's it. We're done. Nobody's listening anyway.
You sign off today. I always sign off.
I just signed off. Nobody's listening. It doesn't matter. Do we have to sign off when nobody's listening?
We sign off. You don't want to sign off?
How many people are listening? None. Zero. Done. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. We will try to be a little more lively and a little more whatever. And, it's been a rough morning here for some of us, emotionally, not emotionally, whatever the case may be. But, we got through it because that's what we do. We plug away. We got through, just like the Atlanta Hawks, as they plug away and they get through, as they rally from a 327-point deficit in the fourth quarter to beat the Sixers. Trust the process. The process is who is the coach almost out of a job? If they lose a series, is he done?
Who, Philly?
Yeah.
Well, it's Doc Rivers' first year because they got rid of Brett Brown the year before.
Okay, then Doc's safe. But it's tough to blow.
Embiid and Simmons probably are not. One of them is probably getting shipped if this is it. Like, this is probably the end of the process because one of them is going to get traded.
Huge game 6. Huge.
Oh,
is there any way that Philly goes into Atlanta and wins?
I just like Atlanta. I think they shoot the crap out of it, and I think they're really deep. I think Philly's top heavy. I think there's a lot of things that Philly doesn't do well.
You want to know one of those things? Guard in the fourth quarter.
Nah. And they have good defense. They have 2 all NBA defensive guys. Like, it's not like they don't have.
They should have put them in the game.
They were in the game. That's the sad part. It's brutal.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you to Weis Markets for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Jeff for running the stuff as he always does.
Thanks.
And, thank you to me for, I didn't really do anything, but thanks anyway.
Yeah.
You see, I got my Cowboy shirt on today because I want to feel like a winner. Whoops, where are we at there? Cowboy
right
winner.
There.
When I was in Weis Markets, I saw another guy with a Cowboy shirt on. I felt like kindred spirits.
Thank you to NorthcentralPa.com. Be sure to go there for all your local news. And we will be back tomorrow to wrap up the week and get you ready for your weekend.
Maybe after Charles Barkley leaves there, he can come on here. We'll let him have fun.
Yeah, no, that would be good. Charles would be a good guest.
You think?
I mean, I just swore 3 times today, and I'm still here.
For now.
Everybody go enjoy your day.